Welcome back to Greg's Preaching Right Division. This is on Galatians chapter 2. So in Galatians chapter 1, it said Paul, after he first got saved, he didn't join the Jewish church. He didn't even talk to Peter for the first 3 years. He didn't, for the first 3 years, Paul went to Damascus by himself with the Spirit of God, and he didn't go join the Jewish church. The churches of Judea, it says in chapter 1. He was unknown by face to the churches of Judea. He was not in the church. He was with God, learning what God wanted him to learn, and he says that in chapter 2. So then in chapter 1, he finally went and met Peter for 15 days, and James. He met Peter, and he met the Lord's brother James, and that was only for 15 days. And then he separated himself again. Then in Galatians chapter 2, it says, check this out. Then in 14 years after I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas and took Titus with me also. So he only saw Peter and James for 15 days. Then he separated himself once again from the Jewish church. For 14 years, he didn't have anything to, he didn't meet with the Jewish church for 14 years. And then he says, so he's getting these revelations. He even tells you this in verse 2. And in verse 2 it says, and I went up by revelation and communicated unto them that gospel which I preach among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run or had run in vain. So wasn't Paul preaching to Israel too? Yeah, Paul was trying to reach Israel too, but see, the reason he says it this way is because he's separate. There's a difference in the gospels that went to the Gentiles, and when Israel's being gone to, there's a different gospel going on. It'll go on to tell you that there's a gospel of the circumcision that Peter was going to. They circumcised in the flesh, made Gentiles and Samaritans proselytes to be able to join the Jewish church. That's why it's called the Church of Judea. Gentiles and Samaritans can't be in the Church of Judea. It will no longer be the Church of Judea unless they're circumcising people that want to join the Church of Judea. Paul writes about this in 1 Corinthians. He talks about how people are circumcised and not circumcised. Don't become uncircumcised. Don't become circumcised. See, it's a physical thing and a spiritual thing at the same time. That's why Paul words it that way. So there's a Church of Judea, and they are circumcising in the flesh. The Gentiles and Samaritans, these are called proselytes. There's a Church of Gentiles, and they're going to come to loggerheads about, you'll see as I continue to preach about in Galatians 2 and the rest of Galatians, that there are two churches going on and there's two gospels going on until Israel falls away and as a nation rejects Jesus as their Messiah, and God goes to the Gentiles to provoke Israel to jealousy.